Yeah, we're good.
Quit bouncing it off your lips.
The whole thing in my mouth. Cut that part out. We're not going yet. Okay. Welcome to the Dry Scoop Podcast, episode number 5. Because I'm still thrown off from the one that you messed up. So we're not going to stop making fun of you for it. Yep, we'll have to question.
Some have intro songs. We have the part where we talk about your mess ups. The airing of grievances.
Yeah. Yeah.
Performance reviews on the podcast.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Bring Victoria, Jordan in, talk to them about how they're doing.
Don't give them a mic, though.
No. Okay.
Just make them sit there in shame.
All right. Well, episode number 5, the second one of the week, same week actually, but you guys that are watching it won't know that. This was a good question. We get topics from people, mostly Brian's friends that have tuned in. I thought that was a good question going into Valentine's Day, because this is when this one is going to air, is how do you motivate your spouse to, was it to work out, or was it to like, how do you motivate your spouse to get fit? So this is kind of a touchy topic. I almost wish we had a female on here to give that the perspective, but I really feel like the perspective will be the same regardless of who you're talking about.
To make decisions.
Well, not Kylie. That's not what we're talking about. So, but yeah, it's kind of a touchy topic because you have to go about it the right way, but that's the question, is what's the right way to go about it? So I'm going to let you start off.
Well, I think you got to know your spouse, right? Like, are they a very direct person?
Yeah.
Are they, with the bet lady, is it like, hey, the gym opens at 5? The gym opens at 5. Lots of women are getting memberships this year. Like, is that kind of where you can kind of just be direct, or maybe it should be like more, like reverse psychology. Like, I think it's so attractive that you're so confident without any exercise and diet restrictions. We eat for a family of 4, and it's just the 2 of us.
I don't know if Brian's going to be the best person to touch on this topic, especially because when you walk around anywhere in public with Brian and Kylie, everybody just stops and stares at them. Did we already tell this story on the podcast when I was in St. Louis with you guys for the S2 event? We went to the Cardinals game, and it's so funny to just walk around with these two, because Kylie's wearing shorts and a tank top, so her guns are out. Brian's got, I think you had a long sleeve shirt on, but it was fitted, so he looks like a freak show. Everybody, like, I'm watching people watch them, like they'll walk by people and they all turn their heads and they're like, whoa. It's really funny to watch.
We told the story. I wanted to hear it again, though.
Yeah. We know.
Well, finish your thoughts.
Please go on.
So neither of those, I was joking. Neither of those are probably good ideas. Funny though, if you have a spouse with a good sense of humor. So I did. You told me yesterday I did think about this, and I did not talk with Kylie about it. Our evenings are busy with the kiddos and practices and stuff. But it is a really tricky subject, and something that I think with couples, so we're assuming, I guess, that if you're encouraging your spouse to be more fit, healthy, live a healthier lifestyle, I think the first assumption we should make, or the first thing you should check off, is that you're leading by example and you're doing so yourself, yep. Right? Because it's pretty. I guess you could be that guy. Like, boy, I want to be a fat slob, but I'd sure like to have a fit wife. Yeah. Well, like, fuck yourself. Like, that's not. Yeah. That's pathetic. But I think if that's something you kind of, there is an approach to take. I can't say I know the approach. I think it's probably very, it's kind of a communication dance, and like, hey, but here's what I would suggest. And I don't have, like, my wife's more fit than I am. She's nuts about working out and keeping herself in shape, and she does our meal prep and everything. So I'm probably not the expert on this, but I think taking an approach of like, if you yourself are active and just said like, hey, I've been wanting to get more walks in outside this year. Would you kind of be an accountability partner for me here? Let's get a 20-minute walk in the morning. You have to find the time in both of your schedule and do something together. Whether it's like, let's go for a 20-minute walk, and we got to do some resistance training. Let's do 30 walking lunges 20 sit-ups and 10 push-ups and go on our walk and just start a routine rather than have this big lifestyle change. This changing and starting from zero to doing something is going to be a big enough change. So making it the action as simple and as achievable as possible, so you can create a habit. It takes a long time. Was it take a year and a half to create? To really create a built-in habit. So starting somewhere and having an agreed upon starting point. But probably doing it together, you're going to have better luck with time together, especially when you're talking husband to wife, if that's the way it goes. If that's the ask or the how do I get my spouse to exercise? Spending time together is a love language. I think a lot of women would like to hear their husbands say, like, hey, this is a way we can spend some time together.
Yeah. There's definitely mental barriers to that, though, like getting your spouse who you want to, work out. Is how do you frame it like that? Hey, why are we going to do 20 sit-ups, 10 push-ups in the middle of this 20-minute walk, stuff like that. So I think there has to be some explanation there. But it's a hard conversation to have, especially if you're kind of timid going into it. But like you said earlier, you should lead by example. So if you're the person that is into that stuff, hopefully your spouse knows that, or he's obviously going to see that. So you should have your house in check first before you do that stuff. But I think it all comes down to, like, you should have like an honest, hard conversation. It's not, you shouldn't, in my opinion, don't approach it like, hey, I want you to work out because I want you to look a certain way. Because the truth is the benefits of working out are, the longevity. Yeah. You're going to look, no, it's the longevity piece of it. And especially if you have kids.
I want you to look good for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. If you have kids, you want to be around for your kids for a long time. You want to be as healthy as you can for a long time. When you have grandkids, like, my goal is to be able to run and squat and still do all that stuff when I'm 70, 80 years old. It's obviously not going to be at the level now, but just to be able to be functional.
A 70, 80-year-old could be at your level now.
On
squats, whatever.
Yeah.
Fitness.
Yeah. Brian, whatever.
Let's not discount 70 and 80-year-olds.
No. They're definitely as strong as Tyler.
You could definitely do.
Yeah. No, it's a tough conversation, but if you truly want your spouse to be healthy and to get into that stuff, you have to explain the benefits to it. And, I've had the conversation before too. And my wife works out. She likes to work out and stuff, but it's more the nutrition aspect where she didn't know much, because anybody can go in the gym and move around and stuff. So, but I've always framed it, and it's because I believe in it now, is longevity, being healthy, want to have good biomarkers and all that stuff when you do blood work. But if you're approaching it from the aesthetics part, that's a tough battle to take on.
Well, especially if you have, I've been in a relationship before where I was obviously pretty nuts about working out. This is back when I was, quote, bodybuilding. I don't mean like, getting to the competitive sense, but really trying to be big, like have a lot of muscle. And for someone who's never tried to do that, first of all, it's a very selfish thing. I had no kids at the time. This is pre-kids, in another relationship, but trying to explain like your time spent and doing that. And so when they see it, it's like, God, you're so overboard. You're doing so much. But my ex asked, like, how big are you going to get? And instead of answering it like a normal person, like, just because you kind of get sick of the question, say, until I pop, So, but then it's almost like it can become, I think, just like communication issues, financial issues, couples they have issues with you can be in a situation where one person is very, very fit and another person almost is, if there's issues, internal in the relationship, almost an act of rebellion.
Yeah, resentful about it.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not. Not only I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And then like you said, like the more you encourage, it's almost there's almost some pullback there. So I'm sure there are people out there listening that it can be a really difficult situation to navigate with your spouse.
Yeah.
And they may not want to work out with you. They may need a completely different outside influence. It's kind of It's like the hey, could you talk to my kids because they don't listen to me,
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's similar, and I'm sure I'm totally guilty of that in relationships too. Like, it's what you need. It's what you need to hear, but you don't want to hear it from your spouse.
Yeah, you definitely want to hear it from a different authority on it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it can. I think it also creates insecurity for that other person too, because they want to apply that you have ulterior motives to stuff like that, which you should make clear up front. Again, honestly, I think the best approach is you need to do it for your health. I'm not doing it because I want you to have what X, Y, and Z attributes physically. I want you to not develop diseases. I don't want to end up, 20 years
Yeah, I
down
want
the
to be
road.
healthy with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so, what are the downhill benefits of just being healthy, on your psyche and all that stuff, the mental aspect to it.
Yeah.
So when you were trying to get as big as you wanted to be in that relationship, was there resentment from the time spent in the gym? Like, you're not spending time with me because you're spending 2 hours in the gym. What was it?
No, I think that kind of the aesthetic component. Like, why do you trying so hard to change yourself and look this like who you doing it? You're not doing it for me. I don't give a shit how big your muscles are. Who are you doing it for? You
Yeah.
know, is it just a selfish like who you're trying to attract?
Yeah.
Kind of can be an issue. And if that's what your thoughts of aesthetically pleasing are, is like I'm not that person. I'm not that super fit person. If that's what you're trying to be, then where does that leave us?
Yeah.
And then there's can be intimacy issues. There can be a lot of that. You mentioned like insecurities. You
Yeah.
know? So just like joke about it, but it can be a really tricky situation to navigate and for couples to kind of see eye to eye on.
Yeah. I think one thing that worked for me, when I say worked for me, like me and Brooke, like we both like to work out. She works out, all that stuff. But she doesn't really care about the nutrition aspect. When I say she doesn't care about it, she doesn't care to learn about it. But she knows she needs to eat healthy. So she kind of leaves that up to me, which is fine because I don't mind cooking, and then I can kind of control, the ingredients and stuff that go into it, the different sauces or whatever that
Yeah.
we're using. And then when it comes to cooking food, she's a really good cook. So she does like to make all these different recipes. So she'll run that stuff by me like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And, she'll go through and make it. So that's definitely one piece of it. And like I said, I always reiterate it, but you need to do it for yourself. You're going to feel so much better. I would approach it. That's definitely the way I would approach it.
I think being kind of simpatico on your goals and at least what you mentioned with the meals and stuff. That's one thing. Like my relationship with Kylie in this term is so easy because we have different exercise modalities. I still do a pretty traditional bodybuilding, but still Olympic lift and do some functional cardio and stuff. She's a complete CrossFit with a little bit of bodybuilding mixed in. She's been running a lot lately. But so we don't necessarily work out together. Every once in a while, we'll get a workout in together, kind of we'll call it a mild CrossFit workout in the garage. It's always fun for her. I struggle, but I think talking about being on the same page, one thing I'd say to young people is you're meeting people and finding out who would be a good match and a good potential mate, like long term, because it can be, like you said, like you want to have, like if you start dating someone serious, like, hey, what are your credit card bills like? What are is there financial issues down the road? Like,
Brooke would have liked to have known that prior.
yeah. You know what I mean? It's like getting married and say like, hey, by the way, I'm a super devout Catholic. We should have talked about like what?
Yeah.
Like these are things that should be disclosed and talked about, and so there's maybe not expectations, but just an understanding of like if you're a person like working out's not that important to me, because the truth is if you're talking to someone, guy or girl, and you're 19, 20, 22 years old, and they say, hey, I'm totally not into fitness. What you see me eating right now is kind of what I plan on eating for the next 20 years. That person's not going to look the same.
Yeah.
And they're not going to be as healthy. And if that's a real big priority to you and that's important, then maybe that's not a long-term compatibility partner.
Yeah.
I've seen it. And this is funny because I've seen both ways, I should say. I've seen bodybuilding guys with a spouse that looks absolutely nothing. Like they probably decided later in life I'm going to be a bodybuilder, like a competitive bodybuilder. And it's such an extreme and there's no way the spouse can kind of keep up, right? I've seen women, like older women who are like these bodybuilders, figure competitors, bodybuilders. I shouldn't feel like, what's the physique competitors.
Yep.
With just a normal dude, just a normal older guy, and he's holding their trophy or whatever, as they come by the booth. And it is like, I always want to ask, like, how does it work? How do you guys do that? What's
I feel like at that point, it just comes down to like, that's a hobby, passion. They do look at it as a sport competitively. So maybe it's the same way you do it with your kids. Like, they're into that. I'm not doing it, but I would assume there's definitely a degree of like, at least that person's probably taking care of themselves. They do eat healthy. They're not training to that extreme to get that.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in that relation, especially to the extreme.
Yeah.
Like what's that like? Very, very different than the person I originally married or was with.
We've seen the extreme of the super fit person with the super overweight person before, but I've also seen those relationships dissolve.
I think that's big on OnlyFans. Like the super fit chick, and then like the schmoes that are hitting them up and stuff are probably video games and porn. They're not. There's not like these super fit Adonis guys.
Yeah.
Out there, like asking them to like, hey, can I get those workout shorts when you're done with them?
Yeah, you know a lot about the OnlyFans circuit, so
yeah, it's an app.
Yeah, I think it's got to wear on people. It's got to wear on all the relationships in your life, and especially if you have kids, that's definitely got to take a toll.
Yeah, there's the thought crossed me like, what about like you think of like which do the kids do? Right. Like I want the kids to work out. Like, it's your thing.
Yeah. Well, but that's the thing about relationships. Not that I'm a relationship advice expert or anything like that, but I've heard good advice
quite
out
the
there.
opposite, in fact.
Yeah. I've heard this like, well, you shouldn't change yourself for anybody. And I disagree with that. Like, you should change for your spouse. You should change for the better, obviously. But if, taking care of yourself, health and fitness is a priority for you. And it's a cornerstone of who you are as a person. I feel like your significant other should value that in you and should want to latch onto that. Cause you said you and Kylie will work out, and not saying you have to go work out with your spouse, cause they may not want to. But you can be the leader by example. And again, if you reiterate like the reasons why you're doing it, hopefully that your spouse will latch onto that. But
yeah, when you mention kids, I think of like, I'm sure like, parents like divorce, like parents. And it's like, yeah, we try to do this with them, but they don't want to take them to practice, or we try to, and like, how hard would that be with, we follow a really strict diet in our house, and then they go to my ex's house and it's complete, pandemonium, whatever you want. And then we, the back and forth, that's something too, like with, just go back to what I said earlier. The advice would be if you are with someone that's not compatible, stop dating him, divorce him, just because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
It will cause tension, obviously. Yeah. I mean, I don't see how, if you're constantly going against one another to that grain, that it's going to last very long. So, it's a hard conversation. So you got to have a hard conversation, but if you're a wordsmith, you should be able to do it.
Yeah. I think start together, come up, find the goal. Like what are we trying to get out of this? If it's just general movement, health, fitness, find a goal, find it very actionable, the time and that you can do it, what you can agree to do in that time. And then like any other action, like make it really consistent to where it becomes a habit and something that you do together. A lot of couples, they work on the garden together. They do this, like we exercise together.
Yeah.
We get a workout in. My folks, they're in their late 60s, retired, and they work out every day. Either just a walk, they'll walk, or I think they lift 2, 3, 4 times a week. At Rage Fitness, which is if anyone knows Rage Fitness, I think it's a hardcore like bodybuilding, strongman gym with loud like rap music and stuff playing. So I think it's cute that my folks go there and work out. My mom, she looks like a little granny, with the gray hair and would bake you cookies. I always say, like, your parents were? I said, yes, my mom. She's 4'10". She looks like she'd bake you cookies. And I've had people like, your parents came in, I knew exactly who your mom was by the description. But they go in and they work out. I grew up. My dad had, I think we mentioned this before. My dad had a gym, and it was kind of a hardcore bodybuilding gym. So while they look like fish out of water in a gym like that, that's really where they've always kind of worked out with just free weights and stuff. They, they're older now, but that's where they're comfortable. And that's where they go. And they still get it in, and they always work out together. It wasn't something when they were younger and kids had to be in one place and working and stuff. My mom would walk, my dad would go to the gym, but now as they're older, it's one thing that they enjoy and spend, like that's part of their time together is they go to the gym.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you can explain your why to your spouse, why you're doing it. And that's for obviously just not aesthetic reasons. That should be motivating enough. I've always told Brooke, and I kind of figured it out on my own. I've had my moments obviously where I've gotten in and out of shape, let myself go, all that good stuff. But I always get back into it because to me, I know better. It's common sense it's not common sense to go against something that you know better. So I always try to live by, have some common sense. And it's common sense to work out and take care of yourself because I've watched my grandparents just wither away and I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
And I've, watched them struggle to get out of a chair, use the bathroom, all that. So I do not want to be that.
I know you say you don't want to make it about the aesthetic, but isn't there something like, I joke like Kylie's 9 years younger than me, so I want to keep in shape and be a fit. I don't old guy as long as I can to keep this young woman. But I think it is about being fit and healthy. But I want to be attractive.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to be attractive. It's not. I'm not asking. I wouldn't. It's tough because you want to say work out so you're attractive for me. But I think everyone in a healthy relationship, you want to be
attractive for your spouse.
You want to be desired. Yeah, you want to be desired. You want that person to want to claim you and be like, hey, that's my, and that's one of the few things I always say, I don't want to be the fat redheaded guy with pale skin. There's nothing I can do about the latter two. So I better stay in shape.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely not discounting that because,
no. I just think that's something that people can take some pride and be
for sure.
I want to be a dime for my wife.
Well,
I want to do the best I can.
It's very gratifying to see your results.
Yeah.
When you look at post pictures to the pictures when you are in shape, it's okay to be a little proud of yourself for it.
Keep the lights on sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in my 20s and stuff, the reason I worked out, I enjoyed it. Outside of strength and conditioning for football and all that stuff, like post college. I just wanted to look good naked. I wanted to look good for the girls, right? Mm-hmm. And then that just changes when you get married, which the funny part is when I married Brooke, she got fitter and I got fatter. And so I knew that needed to change because I just there's no, well, yeah. I was like, there's no way she can be attractive. I look like a slob now,
right?
So there's that. You're going to have your own mental battles about it. And there's nothing wrong with having that goal of I want to look good naked. Mm-hmm. I want to look good for my spouse. That's really those are just the downhill effects.
I think that's when you talk about the self-confidence and feeling good about it and all those things. I mean, I don't think it matters why, in the end, you're going to be healthier. So regardless why you're doing it, if it's for aesthetic, for yourself, so you feel good and you're proud, of the shape you're in and what you've accomplished, and also you can look at your spouse and it's I'm staying in shape for them. I want to be desired. I want them to be, I want to show up to places with them, and it's beyond just. Of course, you want to be a good person and a good husband and wife and all that, but it's fine to also want to look good for your spouse. You should, that's good. It's healthy. Yeah. And if that's your reason, then as a byproduct, especially when you're young, like you mentioned, as a byproduct, you're healthier, great.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly when I was saying in my 20s, when I really got into CrossFit heavy, I looked really good, but I was also super healthy. But I was not doing CrossFit and all that stuff to be healthy. I just knew that was the effects of it.
And then when you're broker in your 70s, you might not think I'm doing this. I bet you are. I bet you're still. There's still a part of I want to look good in my 70s and however old. I want to keep I'm hanging on, as long as I can.
Yeah.
But the priority, I guess, the number one reason might be because you want to have good heart health and cardiovascular health. And that's why I have people change kind of I want to be as big as I possibly could. Now I don't give a shit what I weigh. I want to be at a certain level of fitness.
Yeah. Yeah. And just kind of continuing with having that conversation, just one, be prepared. It's probably going to be an uncomfortable conversation. Find a way to word it where you're not attacking that person for any reason.
You don't have to wear it too. You could look like through their dresser and you could go buy the exact same clothes they have, but in a smaller size. You could, you could, you could swap out snacks, without saying anything. You could, there's ways, guys. There's ways you could do this.
Yeah, just
subtle
signs.
Yeah.
Go with that advice and let's see how that works. Write in and tell us how that works.
You watch Amazon. You see an order coming. You cancel, archive it, order the same thing in a smaller size.
Do it. Yeah.
Well, it's not for lack of working out. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah. Luke, are we at our 30-minute mark?
We have derailed.
No, I mean, I want everybody to try each bit of advice that you were given here today, and then let us know who's worked out just a little bit better. Yeah. Perfect. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day, Tyler.